Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars, and if you have ever spec'd a neck for your custom guitar that was so ridiculously heavy that it dove into the ground, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Okay, today we're going to take necks and we're going to rough shape them. We're going to start with the pin router and then we're going to go over to the deadhead sander. I've got about half a dozen necks that we're going to take from this square profile and we're going to establish a round over and we're going to get everything rough finished with the deadhead belt sander. So a couple of things that I have done since the last video. As you know, you've seen us do the radius and you've seen us grind away the headstock to thickness, and we rough cut out about an inch of meat here so that we're not having to turn everything that was an inch and a half of material into dust. We just went ahead and cut that off on the bandsaw. What I didn't make a video showing you guys was side dot installation. I've done a video on that recently. If you want to know how we do side dots, you can go watch that video. If you can't find that video or you don't want to watch it again, leave me a note in the comments and I'll make another video for you because you want to be different. Okay, so let's check out what we got going on the pin router, and we'll talk you through some of that. Okay, what we got here is a standard 7/8 roundover bit. This one does have a bearing, and it's going to ride on the neck itself, and it's going to establish a contour for us to more closely follow on the deadhead sander than just kind of going for it on the deadhead sander. So we've got it all set up here, and we've got a jig that holds our necks. It's got a screw here and a strap clamp here, and the bearing will ride on the neck itself. It'll come and hit this piece, hit the neck, and hit this piece, and it'll come back out again, so it'll be totally cool. We stole this idea from another guy who had a more peculiar setup than ours, and but this works pretty well too. So let's get started, and I'll show you what it looks like. So what we've done here is just kind of establish the roundover. When we go to the deadhead sander, this is going to really help us out a lot. It's going to be material that doesn't have to get turned into sawdust, and it's going to help keep everything the same and symmetrical. So only 5 more to do, and then we'll go to the deadhead sander. Let's do Cheddar Kung Pao's neck next. So a lot of people have been asking me why I don't use the copy carver to make necks, and why I don't use this, that, and the other tool to make necks, and why I don't use wood rasps and shit to make necks. Because the fact of the matter is that our deadhead sander is our primary neck shaping tool. And we're going to see what it is like in action here in just a second. It's funny, like this unit is one that we made. This is an industrial edge sander that we added an extension to, and we have a piece on the side here. It's not a true deadhead sander, but it is a way for us to keep everything nice and flat, and we can rotate the neck as the abrasive moves across it. It's actually a really accurate way to make necks, and I've talked with a handful of people who worked in the old school factories, and some people who worked in the not so old school factories, but like for example Bruce Bennett, who was at Warrior and at Gibson. Apparently he made 2 of these. His were quite a bit bigger. It had like 10 horsepower motors and 36 grit belts. There's a point of diminishing return when you have a tool like that. This one is a 3-horse motor with a 60 grit belt, and I guarantee you it will make short work of this mahogany. If you worked at Gibson when there was the tool that Bruce made there, you probably wrecked a lot of necks because it's going to just plow through this stuff with 60 grit belt and a 3-horse motor. So anyway, we've got our vacuum hooked up and we got our necks ready to go. We're going to start rough shaping these. I need to get a couple of tools, and Ian's going to film me while I do this, and we'll go through the process. And it should be self-explanatory what I'm doing, but we might take a few minutes to stop and give you guys a heads up of what's going on as we're doing it. So let's get started. So in just a few minutes we have a rough profiled neck. Now what I like to do right around this time is pause and take a few measurements and draw some lines and you know, kind of fit the heel and fit the volute a little bit. I'll show you what that's like next. So I like to put some lines on here for reference marks, and then I can check and make sure the neck is looking the same all the way across. You can see it looks like right here I've got a little high spot. So I'm going to mark on my line right there where that high spot is. And near the volute area it's actually a little bit opposite. So I'm going to mark on that line where I want to take material off. That actually looks pretty decent. That looks pretty decent. So by drawing lines and actually putting little index marks where I know I need to take more material, that helps me when I'm on the sander. I know that I can press a little bit more in this spot right there and round that over like how I want. My volute is going to come in a little bit like this, and I'll probably go ahead and shape that by hand. I also will put this back through the old man machine and send it back towards the nut end a little bit more. And I also need to shape the heel area, so we'll actually put that in the body of the guitar and take a look at that next. So we've got a pretty nice neck pocket, but we need to trim all of this back and then do our little round over thing here. If we were at Paul Reed Smith, we'd put it right here because that's the way they like to do it, but we're not going to do it like that. We're just going to come to probably right about there. So let's go over to the bandsaw, we'll hack the rest of this off, and we'll work this in with the deadhead sander. So our neck is actually pretty close to being rough shape now. As you can see, we got a pretty decent little contour here on the heel area, and all I did was just put this on the deadhead sander and rock it back and forth, and it established that that kind of smooth round over. We might need to take it back to about where that pencil mark is so you can get up to do the super high wheelie stuff. So the pin router and the deadhead sander are great tools that we use here in the shop to do a lot of shaping, and they make short work of neck blanks. Shaping necks is actually really fun. And we got a few more minutes on the deadhead sander for this guy, and of course we got half a dozen more to go after that. But that's a video for another time. Actually, it's probably the video that we already made. But if you have any questions about the video or any of the tools that we use or any of the techniques that we use, please leave them in the comment section below. If you had a good time watching it, give us the thumbs up. And if you appreciate content like this, you might want to go over to our Patreon page and consider becoming a member. Even $1 a month goes a long way to helping us bring you cool shit like this. So, this is Matt at Texas Toast reminding you, if you're so smart, build it yourself. That's what I do. Thanks for watching, everybody.